Hi everyone, Brad Drew here. I want to take a minute to share with you one of the things I love about working with images on the iPhone. You have everything you need to do all of this different kind of processing all within the palm of your hand, even if you have to tap different apps to do that. This image that we're looking at right now, this is a photograph that I made over the summer at Crown Hill National Cemetery here in Indianapolis, and I shot this with the ultra wide angle lens on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And as you can see, there's a lot of keystoning going on. The building's leaning in. I might have done better to shoot this maybe with just the wide rather than the ultra wide, but I couldn't quite get it in the frame the way I wanted it. So I ended up with an image like this. And as I look at it right now, I see a number of things wrong with it that I want to correct about it. And so I'm going to take you through a process that I use for doing that. So the first thing that I want to do is process this RAW file. If you'll notice up in the left-hand corner there, it tells me that this is a RAW photograph, and I did this with the 12 Pro Max with the ProRAW setting turned on. So this is my image. There are a number of ways to edit a RAW file on the phone. One of them is SnapSeed, another is Lightroom, but you also have this really remarkable editor here right within the camera roll in the iPhone. If you tap on the edit button up here in the upper right hand corner, which I'll do right now, it takes you into what is the iOS editor. Now this is an editor that didn't used to be very good at all. Nobody really used it for much of anything. But around iOS 13 or so, a year and a half or so ago, this editor got really, really good. And you'll notice you've got all these different variables that you can adjust here. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to start this process in transforming this image. I'm going to start doing this my RAW workflow using the iOS editor. So the first thing I'm going to do is tap the magic wand under Auto right here. And you notice the yellow line on all of these different adjustments. That's what the auto adjustment just did. It just took us from the original right there to auto. It's not showing a whole lot of difference, is it? Let me back up and just do this one more time. Discard those changes. Go to the editor, tap auto, and it did bring up a little, it made a little bit of a difference. If we look at before, when I press on the screen, there's the original, and there's the processed version. But now I'm going to continue to process this. I'm going to go over here to exposure, and I'm going to raise the exposure just a tiny bit. Go to brilliance, and I'm going to play with this. Brilliance is a tool that you don't see in a lot of editors, but I think it kind of is very similar to what I think of as ambiance in Snapseed. You can see how as I move it around, it's making adjustments to the contrast and so on, and a saturation. I'm going to go with that. Then I'll go to highlights, and in this case I'm going to drop my highlights into the negative, and notice when I do that, see how the sky comes a little bit richer, and I'm going to just bring it down like that. Then I'll go to my shadows, and again, if I wanted to, I could drop the shadows down, but I think I'm going to bring them up just a little bit, because you notice how when I bring them up, it brings out the green a little bit in the leafy trees along the side of the frame. I'm going to go for that, and then I'm going to go to contrast, and I'm going to give it just a couple of degrees of contrast, and you can see how that sort of popped the image. So here's where we started. Come on. How come there we go. There's where we started. Let me do that again, and there's where we are now. So you see the difference. Then I'm going to go to brightness. I could brighten that just a tiny bit, but not much. Then I'm going to go to black point, and I'm going to drop that black point, or increase that black point just a little bit, and like that. Then I'm going to go to saturation, and very carefully I'm just going to give it maybe 1 or 2 degrees of saturation. It's real easy to oversaturate these, and I don't want to do that with this image. Next I'll go to vibrance. I'm going to give it just a touch of vibrance, and then I'll go over here to sharpness, and this is where I can sharpen the image a little bit. And I'm going to take the slider here and just bring it up to maybe about 20, and I can see a difference here on my screen. If I zoom in here, maybe you will, if you look at the letters or the gate, I'd say about 20 is about as far as I want to go. Any further and it looks overdone. Then I'll go to definition, which is kind of like structure in Snapseed if you're familiar with that app, and we'll take that up to maybe 25 or so. And that is everything I'm going to do to the color and contrast and so on. But I also want to crop this a little bit. I'm going to go down here and tap on the crop icon at the bottom. And up here in the upper right, I'm going to choose the different aspect ratios. And when I do, you can see down below, I have all these different things. So what I want to do here, when I frame this, I feel like I have way too much foreground in this image. That pavement in the foreground doesn't do a whole lot for this image. And so what I'm going to do is go over here. The aspect ratio on this image is 4:3, which is the default for the iPhone, but I want to choose 3:2. Notice when I do that, it's giving us a 3:2 aspect ratio, and it eliminates some of that pavement in the foreground. Now, most of the time, I try not to crop out any pixels at all when I'm doing this because we're working with an iPhone image, right? So it's already smaller. I like to maintain the size. But in this case, I had an image that I liked, but I couldn't really, I'd already taken it and I didn't crop it the way I should have. So I'm doing it after the fact. But I do try and do it in the camera when I can. All right, so once I have that, that's all I'm going to do here. I'm going to tap Done. And it's going to take me back out to the camera roll. Now you'll notice it still tells me it's a RAW file, but actually if I copy and paste this into Snapseed, which is what I'm going to do next, it's going to take it into Snapseed as a JPEG. The reason it's still a RAW, if I wanted to convert this back to its original, I would tap Edit again, and I could tap Revert down here in the bottom, and it would revert this image to the original RAW file. So that's kind of cool because you never really lose your original file. So there we go. I've got this image. Now I'm going to take it into Snapseed and do some additional editing. So to do that, I'm going to tap on the share icon there at the bottom, tap Copy Photo, and now I'm going to go over to Snapseed. There's my icon. And all I did was swipe down in the center, and I could type Snapseed in the search bar if I wanted, or you can see it's already there in the tray, so I don't even need to search for it. I'm going to hold my finger on it, and when I do, I get a menu, and one of the items is paste the image. So I'm going to paste the image that we just copied. There we go. So now we are in Snapseed and ready to do some other editing. So the first thing that I want to do is I look at this. The KeyStoning, the way the buildings are leaning in toward the center, is just way too much for this image. So what I'm going to do is go to a tool called Perspective. So I'm going to tap on Tools down at the bottom, and I'm going to go to Perspective right here, and I'm going to choose this icon over on the right here called Free Movement. So what I want to do now, I am going to start up here in the upper right corner, and I am just going to drag my thumb and pull that edge until that steeple on the right is just passed straight up and down. Then I'm going to go over to the other side and drag the other way and pull the image in the other direction. So now there is our image. We've eliminated a lot of that KeyStoning, and it's starting to kind of look more like a straight up and down image. I'm also going to pull this up a little bit, and I don't want to distort the image a lot, but I've actually now turned it into an image that I can feel pretty good about in terms of the KeyStoning and the orientation of the image. That's all I'm going to do here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I may need to come down here and play with that a little bit in order to get that true, and something like that. You can play with this a lot until you get it exactly square and true the way you want. Then I'm going to close that up, commit to that change, and then I'm going to go to my tools again and choose the crop tool. And in this case, I want to crop off a little bit of the edges on both sides. So I'm going to go to 5:4, and that's too much. I thought it might work, but it's too much. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go over to Original and Free Crop, and I'm just going to drag that edge in a little bit on both sides just to tighten it up around the buildings. So there we go. There is our image. I'm going to go back and do one more perspective here because I feel like I'm not quite the way I want to be with that. So I'm just dragging that perspective tool until I get the KeyStoning corrected. So there we go. There's our image now. And as I look at this, it's looking pretty good. What I want to do is zoom in on it a little bit, and I can see that there is just a little bit of noise in the sky. And the way that I'm going to work with that is to go into Tools. I'm going to go to Details. And in Details, you have two things you can adjust here, Structure and Sharpening. I'm going to zoom in on the sky a little bit, and I'm going to drop my structure down until it gets creamy. So there it is with all that noise in it. And as I drop it down to maybe 25 or 30, now it's gotten much creamier. And I like the way the sky looks with that creamy look. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. So I'm going to commit to that. Now I don't want that creamy smoothing to happen throughout the image. So in order to put that smoothing just in the sky, we're going to use masking. And to do that, I'm going to go up here to the share or the history icon at the top right here. I'm going to open that up. And you'll notice here are all the layers of things that we've done in Snapseed, the last one being that detail layer. I'll select that, and I'm going to choose the brush in the brush in the center. That is our masking brush. If I turn on down below, there's a little eyeball here, and I can toggle it between black and white or blue. I'm going to turn it on blue, and when I do, and I paint in here, you can see where I'm marking on the screen. And what I'm telling Snapseed is, hey, just apply that last adjustment, that's structure, negative structure smoothing adjustment, just apply it to these areas of the image. So again, I'm going kind of fast here. You can be really precise with this and make that sky really creamy and really accurate around this building. I'm probably going quicker than you're going to go. So now there's our image. The red shows us that we're telling Snapseed apply that smoothing just to the sky, and I'll click the check mark, and now there is our image. If we go back, there's where we started, and there's where we are now. I mean, that's starting to look really good to me. The next thing that I'm going to do here, I'm going to just play around for a minute. I'm going to go to something called HDRscape. I'm going to tap on that. This is one of the tools in Snapseed that it's easy to overdo, but you'll notice there's down below here, you'll see that there are 4 different presets that you can choose. That one's called Nature. There's People. There's Fine. And there's Strong. Those are all a little bit over the top. I think the one that I seem to like the best here is People. And once you select one, if you slide up and down, you can work with any of these different adjustments here. What I'm going to do is drop my saturation just a little bit. It's just got a little too much color. So there, well, that's only showing. Let's go back out of here. So let's go into our history again. And you can see if I tap on Details, which is the layer below the HDR scope, it essentially turns off the HDR scope layer. So if I tap on Details, there's before HDR scope and there's after. So it adds a little drama to the image. It's real easy to overdo it, so you kind of want to use that judiciously, but I think it makes the image, just gives it a really fun look. The next thing that I might do with this image, we could be done, but one of the things I'm going to do is go into a tool here called Glamour Glow. Glamour Glow is going to give a softness to the image. There's before and there's after. That's a little too much to me. It's smoothed things out a little too much. So I'm going to drop that down to maybe half, to 25 by sliding to the left. There's before and there's after. I kind of like that look right there. And that's looking really good. So as I look at this image, I'm going to go ahead and commit, save it, and then I'm going to export it. When I tap on export, I'm going to choose save a copy, and it's going to put that copy of that image out in my camera roll. Let's go look at it. And there is, whoops, there is that latest image. Now, as I look at that image, if I zoom in on it, it looks great. I could be done here, but you know what I'm noticing? I don't like the sign in front, and I don't like this car over here. I just would rather not have them there. So what I'm going to do is use another great app. it's called Touch Retouch. I'm going to swipe down here in the center of my screen, and you'll notice in the tray on the right here, you'll see the icon looks like a green 6. That's Touch Retouch. I'm going to tap on that icon to open it up, and come on. There are our images. I'm going to tap on Recents, and there is the image that I want to work with. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is a tool for removing unwanted objects from your image, and it's absolutely remarkable the way it works and how good it is. Okay, so here we are in Touch Retouch, and what I want to do is remove the sign, and I want to remove this truck. Now I'm going to do the best I can to speed this up a little bit so you don't have to watch my tedious movements here. And just be aware, I'm going to go kind of fast. I'm going to choose somewhat of a large brush here, and I'm going to come over here where this tree is, and I'm going to drag down, and I'm just going to fill in that. I might have to. And if we go back, there's before, you see the truck, and there it's gone. So that's not bad. Now, is it perfect? No. And you could go in and play with that and tweak that and get it even better. But that's the idea. Next, I'm going to come over here. Once again, I'll use the clone stamp, and I'm simply going to choose an area over here and paint that area in right here. And again, I'm going very quickly, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. I am wiping. When I tap here like that, I'm choosing a sample area that is underneath where the brush is. And then I'm going to take my finger and drag my finger down below so that I can wipe those areas away. And I'm being very quick about it, but something like that. So now if we go back, there we have the sign is gone, and if we look, here's before and after. So let's zoom in on these. You can see the sign. Oops. There's the sign and the truck, and the sign and the truck are gone. So again, you can be more accurate, but you get the idea. You can remove unwanted elements here in a way that no one will know they were even there to begin with. So now I'm going to save this out to the camera roll, and again I'm going to save a copy, and it's going to put that copy out here in the camera roll. So there's our version without the car and the sign, and at that point we can be done with this image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the image, and I'm going to go to another tool that I like, which is Image Blender, and for this I'm going to paste in my or add in my watermark, my signature. So I'm going to go down and tap on the left down here. I'm going to go to Photos, and I'm going to get that last image that we just worked on where we removed the, you can see we removed the car and the sign. And then I'm going to tap on the right, go to my Photos, signature, where are you? There we go. And I'm going to choose now. You notice these are signatures that I purchased from Photo Logo, and you'll notice you see a black one, but there's also a white one next to it, but you can't see it because it's on a white background. I want the white signature, so I'm going to tap right there, and it popped the white signature into the image, and I'm going to go up to the Arrange tool, and now I can take two fingers and pinch that down, and I can move that to wherever I want to put it. Let's say I want to put it up here in the sky just because I've got clean space up there. I can add my watermark to identify the image and say save, and I'm going to now save it to Photos or to the camera roll, and there is our image. And if we look, let's go back. Here's where we started. That was the original image. And here's where we've ended up. So we've eliminated the keystoning, we've added some drama to the sky, we've done a little bit of saturation and tweaking, and we have a beautiful, beautiful clear image. Now, I mentioned before that I try not to crop my iPhone images, and I really do work to fill the frame and eliminate the need to crop later. But if you do end up cropping and you end up with a picture that is a file size that is smaller, doesn't have the resolution that you need to print large, you always have the option to move it to the desktop and use the tool called Gigapixel AI, which is a tool for enlarging images, and it's tremendous. You can take a smaller iPhone image or a portion of an image from a big camera that you've cropped in on, and you can enlarge that image up to 600 times, and it actually looks better enlarged than it did in the original. Anyway, just an option. So that's it. I just wanted to share with you how I went from an image that looked like this to an image that looks like this. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you online or in the field soon. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and until next time, keep on creating.